So today we are going to be doing complete microservices architecture made up of 4 different microservices, and we are going to be using all the necessary ingredients of microservices like the client, the Eureka client side discovery, service discovery. We're also going to be using Zool API Gateway. These are 2 components that I'm going to explain to you clearly in this tutorial. And also take note that in the intro, I already explained in the whiteboard how an API gateway works. So Spring Cloud provides us with Zool API Gateway. It also provides us with Eureka Service Discovery. In this case, we have Eureka Server and Eureka Client. All right, so this is the architecture we are trying to work with. So we have an application coming from the internet. It makes a request. That request goes to the product web. The product web now queries the Zool API Gateway. The API Gateway gets the information from the service discovery server about this microservice, and then the request is now routed to the microservice to get this information and send back to the user. So I think it's going to be clearer when we do it practically, building these microservices. Again, there's something I want to show you. So this is a website. This is a website I dedicate to microservices. So in case you want to support me, feel free to buy me a coffee or support me in other ways. So today will be Zool API Gateway. We are focusing on Zool API Gateway. So that also means that we're also using other tools, but the focus will be Zool API Gateway. So let's start immediately. I'm not going to read all the theories, but I'm going to be explaining as we go. So this is the architecture we are going to be using. We have 4 microservices. The Zool API, we have, let's make it clearer. We have this microservice product web trying to communicate with another microservice product server, and it has to go through the API gateway. Let's just put it that way. So that's the summary of it, and I've made it clear right here. So there are 4 microservices we have to build. The web, that's the web, like the client application, we call it the web. We also have the server that contains the information to be accessed, where the request is actually going. And we have the discovery server that actually is a registry for all the services. And then we have the API gateway, which is a gateway for accessing services that are hosted in the network. Okay, the first thing we are going to build is the Eureka server, because that is the easiest one. So I'm going to give the group ID Condos Kindson the Genius. So if you are joining me for the first time, please remember to subscribe to my channel, because this way you don't miss an update. And also, if you have challenges, I'm going to help you solve it as well if you leave me a comment in the comment box below this video. So the name of this service is going to be Eureka Server. So this Eureka Server is going to be our discovery server that discovers all the services in the architecture and registers them with itself. So the name is going to be, description is going to be Eureka Server. Hopefully there is no typo. I'm going to go next. So here we are going to add how many dependencies. We are going to add the Eureka Discovery Server dependency and the Spring Web dependencies. That's all. I'm going to go to Eureka Server, Discovery Server, and the Spring and the Web, which is the Spring Web dependency. So these are the only 2 you need to add. I'm going to click on next. So I'm going to put it in a directory called Zool Demo. It's better when you're building microservices architecture, put all the services there. Basically, a service kind of is an application. Put all the applications in the same directory so that you don't mix things up. You can also always see all your services that you're working with. So I call it this collection of services, this architecture, Zool Demo, that contains all the microservices. So I'm going to click on Finish. Yes, okay. So this is our discovery server. So one thing about the discovery server is once you build it up, you can see a dashboard of all the services that are registered with the server. So that is one thing you need to know. So it says also, remember to disable the register with Eureka and fetch registry, and then you also enable Eureka server on this application. So to do that, I'm going to simply go to, the first thing I'm going to do is to go to SRC main resources and go to application. So I'm going to first give it a port 8761. Maybe I can just type it over the port equals 8761, and Eureka. Let me just make sure. Fetch registry is false, and register with Eureka is false as well. So this you need to turn off so that to tell it that the only Eureka server in this microservices architecture is itself, so it doesn't search for other registries. So we are done with this, except that we are going to open the main application class and annotate with enable Eureka client, enable Eureka server. Okay, so that's what it should be. I want to take out a client because this is not necessary. So at this point, we can test the server just to make sure it's working. It's running at port 8761, so I'm going to just test it. Like after saving everything, I'm going to just click on test by clicking on this button. While it's coming up, I'm going to just go to the next service. We are going to be building the product server service that actually holds a collection of data that we are going to be working with. So while it's starting up, that is fine, but I'm going to start working on the second service at this time. So I'm going to create a new, I'm going to shift this a bit, shift this out. Make some room here. I'm going to create a new project. File, new project, and this time we are building a product server. So I'm going to click on next and Tom Kyneton Genius, and the name is going to be product web. Okay, Tom Kyneton Genius. Sorry, product server. All right, so everything remains default, so I'm going to just call it product server. Okay, so next. So now in this case, the dependencies you are going to add, we need H2 dependency because we want to store the data in an in-memory database, and H2 has been very good. And we also need Lombok, we need discovery client, very important. This has to be a discovery client for it to be able to register with the Eureka server. So we need to annotate with discovery with the discovery client. Lombok, I normally add it, but sometimes it doesn't work out well with me, but let's just add it. So we need H2 database, and we need JPA. Right, so are we missing out anything? And we need our Eureka clients. So that's the main thing, because if we don't add Eureka client, it will not be able to register with Eureka, with the Eureka server. So I'm going next. Everything should be fine. I'm going to click OK. New window. Okay, while this is starting up, let's check our Eureka server to check if Eureka server is not running. So I'm kind of going to run it again by clicking on this button right here. So the H2 database is coming up. The H2 the product server microservice is coming up. Now there is a configuration for H2 database. I'm going to show you how to get this configuration for you to connect to H2 database and display the console, or maybe save to be able to actually use H2 database. There's a configuration about it you have to add. You have to add to your application.properties file. So this product server is going to have, let's just start at once. So I'm going to go to, meanwhile, as we are waiting for it to start, let's just make sure. Okay, so take note that our Eureka server starts up. So if I go to my browser, and go to HTTP // localhost at 8761, you will see the Eureka dashboard showing up. So we succeeded in building the first service correctly. So let's move on to the second one, which is what we already started working on. I can leave the step-by-step page open. So this one now running, which has to be at port 8080. Okay, so let's start. So I'm going to go to SRC main Java, and I'm going to create a new Java class. Is going to be product. So this product is simply going to be a POJO normal class containing a list of products. And we need data annotation, and we also need entity annotation as well. So I'm simply going to copy. I'm going to go copy the. Right, so I have the content of this. Let me just paste it so that we don't waste time typing out things. So this will be managed by Hibernate. So it means that Hibernate is going to take care of creating the table in the database and saving things to the table. We don't have to worry about database related operations. So I'm going to say import class generated value. So it's going to be entity, and it's going to be a primary key which is auto generated. So I'm going to say import class. Somehow I need to add the getters and the citers. For some reason it doesn't work well for me, so I'm going to just add getter and citer, and I'm going to select everything. I'm going to say OK. Alright, so we've created this, and let's now create the repository. Let's create the repository, and this repository is simply going to be an interface that extends the JPA repository so that we'll be able to manage data in our database. So I'm going to right click and say new. Then you click on new Java class, choose interface, and choose, I'm going to call it product repository. Okay, product repository. Okay. So this repository is going to simply extend JPA repository. Once you extend JPA repository, you need to specify the class you want to store, or the kind of entity you want to store in the database, and you also need to specify the primary key type, and the primary key type now is integer, as you know. Finally, we need to write. Okay, remember to annotate this class with @repository annotation, and finally we need to write the controller file, the REST controller that is going to expose all the methods that our users can actually access through the browser endpoint or through the browser using a URL. So I'm going to say new, and this is going to be product controller. Okay, so I'm going to annotate it with REST controller. Sorry. All right, and now we are going to save some data into the repository. Actually, we need to write methods that is going to execute when a request comes in, right? So the first one, the user goes to the browser and enters /product. We want it to return a list of products. Okay, we want it to return a list of products. So we are going to say, permit me to correct this right now. Okay. So we need to use a repository inside this class. So I'm going to just auto-wire the repository. I'm going to say auto-wires. I'm going to say private product repository. Okay, this is fine. We've auto-wired the repository in here. I'm going to just say return product repository dot find all. So return everything. And in the next one, we are going to get only one item. So let's see, I'll get mapping to /products /product ID. So in this case, the request is coming, but you need to specify the ID of the product you want to access. And in this case, you need to specify as path parameter. So a parameter placed in the URL is called a path parameter or path variable. So depending on what platform you are using, sometimes it's path parameter, sometimes it's path variable. So I'm going to say public. This time we are returning one single product, and we also need a parameter for this product, and that parameter is going to be coming. The name of this parameter is expected to be product ID, and it's coming from is a string, is an integer, and it's coming from the integer product ID. Right? I think I'm getting it. I didn't know. Okay. So this is how to write this method, and finally I'm going to say return. This, we also use a repository to get one. So get one, okay, and product ID. All right. So we are done with the controller, and now we need initialization component. We need a class that is going to initialize our database by putting in some initial data into the database. So to do that, you are going to create a new file. And this class is going to be annotated with the component annotation. Let me give it a name, initialization component. All right, so I'm going to annotate this class with component annotation. All right, so for you to be able to initialize, we also need to auto-wire the repository because we are going to be using the repository to save data. So I'm going to auto-wire the repository. I'm going to say auto wired. I'm going to say private product repository, and I'm going to now say at post construct. So it's going to be public. Public is a void method because it's not returning anything in it. Okay. So the first thing we want to do, we want to delete everything in the repository and then insert new items into the repository. So we are going to create new product. We create a product to insert. If we create a product to insert, so there is a function. Okay. So we have a redundant closing braces here. So we delete everything first because we're initializing, and then we create a new product, set the name, set the code, set the title, set everything. We insert into the repository, save, right? We do the same thing again, for product we insert into the repository. And we are done with the product server, the second one. But there's something we are missing here. We need to set the configuration for H2 database. So to do that, the easiest way to do it, as I used to tell my subscribers, you simply enter Kyneton the Genius, your browser in Google, and say H2 database. So once you say Kyneton the Genius H2 database, the first one, you can check it. And if it goes down, you simply find it right here. So just copy it, right? So I made it easy because this is something that sometimes we actually forget. But you may also check the second one, I can't remember. But Kyneton the Genius H2 database takes you to using H2 database, and then you simply copy it and then use it. Let me restore this back to where we were. All right, so I'm going to go to H2, the configuration right here. I'm going to paste, okay. All right, so the name of this database, we are going to specify it right here. I'm going to call it products DB because we are storing list of products. And finally, I would like to set the port for this to be 8080. Server.port is equal to 8080 because that's what we have in the step-by-step right here, as you can see now. So if we run this application and go to /products, we should be able to see some list of products coming back from our application. So now I'm going to save all, and then I'm going to run this product server application. Meanwhile, let's now take a look at the next application. The next application now is the API gateway, okay? API gateway sits between the client. The client is presumed to be coming from the internet, and the product server is presumed to be inside your network. So this API gateway is going to be in between them, right? So that's what we are trying to achieve. So I'm not going to be reading all these theories, but I simply will check what we need for us to build this API gateway. Let's get back here. I'm going to close this. All this pop-up message will stop coming. All right. So if if we look at the console, you can see that okay, we have it. Okay, we missed out something very important, but I don't know. Let me go to, if you go here, this application, for it to be able to register with the Eureka server, you need to put the annotation here at enable Eureka client. Eureka enable Eureka client, you need to put it right here. Don't forget, sometimes I do. If I save all and I'm going to rerun this application, so let's cancel this. So I'm going to stop and rerun. Yes, stop and rerun at this point. Once it comes up and we go back to the Eureka, we should be able to see that something actually have registered with the Eureka server. Oh, we actually stopped the Eureka server, so that is one thing. So for this application to run, we are going to start the Eureka server so that it should be able to register. If a client actually tries to register with Eureka server and it doesn't see the Eureka server, then it's going to throw exceptions, which we don't want at this point. So our Eureka server should start, and the Eureka client, which is the product server, should also start. So if you look at this place, you can see, 2 seconds. You will see that it's going to make some attempts to register, but finally we actually need to give this application a name. So I'm going to say spring.application.name is equal to product server. So after giving it a name, I'm going to just save all, and then I'm going to stop it and then rerun it again. So hopefully this time everything should be fine. Okay, so take a look at the console. You can see discovery client, registration status 204, that I can't figure out. But if we go to Eureka server and I refresh the Eureka server, you can now see that there is one service registered here, product server, and you can see the status is up, so it's okay. All right, so I'm going to kind of bring them down because now I need my system to perform well. So the next thing we are going to be talking about now, which we are going to build, is a API gateway. It's quite easy to build, but you need to pay attention to the explanation. The API gateway is the Zool API gateway that is going to direct traffic coming from a client application to this server. This server is called product server. That's the name. That's the logical name. And when the traffic comes from certain URL pattern, it's going to be directed to the product server. So let's create the Zool API gateway. So I'm going to start a new application, file, new project. And this time I'm going to simply call it API gateway. So I'm going to go next. So again, I'm going to use com.kindson, the genius. I'm going to say com.kindson, the genius. Artifact is API gateway. Okay. I like using just one word for just one single word for names of my artifacts. So I'm going to call it in the description. I'm going to call it API gateway. API gateway. Right. So that's what we have. I'm going to click on next. Now we need to pay attention to the dependencies we are going to add. The most important dependency we are going to add here is the API, the Zool proxy, right? That's the name of the dependency. So I'm going to search for it, Zool proxy. So it says Zool proxy, right? So let me just try. Let me just make sure I get it correctly. Okay, so I'm going to select it. So you can see it says Spring Cloud routing, Zool maintenance. Don't worry about this. So this the most important dependency you are going to add. An API gateway is also a microservice, make no mistake about it. So it's going to register with the Eureka server we already have. So we are also going to make it to be a Eureka client. It's going to be a Eureka Discovery client. So we have dependencies as to the web, Eureka Discovery client, Zool proxy. There's Zool proxy. Give me a second. Let me just check something. Okay, so Zool is okay. Just enter Zool is okay. And web. Finally, Spring Web is okay right here. So these three dependencies is okay. I'm going to click on next, and everything should be fine. I'm going to just say new window, so we have all of them. So here we are building three applications now. As you can see in the status bar, we have three applications here, three microservices or three applications. Remember, a microservice should be considered also as an application that is independently deployable from other services. So we need to add to this API gateway two things. One, we want to add an enable Eureka client to make it to be able to register with the Eureka server. So it's going to be a Eureka client. And secondly, we are going to make it a Zool API gateway by adding enable Zool proxy annotation to the base application class of this application. So I'm going to shift this to this place to make some room. I'm going to drop down from here. I'm going to go to src main Java and open the base application class, and at this point I'm going to say enable Eureka client and enable Zool proxy. So once you do this becomes an API gateway, but you also need to do some configuration to help it to route traffic to which service you want. So because services coming to the API gateway, if it matches some criteria, if the path of this request matches certain criteria, it has to be directed to particular microservice. So it's not that when something gets to the gateway, it just goes to everywhere or gets to all your services. It's just like getting into North Korea. If you get into North Korea, you'll be assigned a guide that is going to take you to particular places they want you to visit. You can't just go to everywhere in North Korea. You have to have a guide to send you to a particular place that you need to be or visit. So also we need to do the specification of configuration to tell Zool API gateway that if a request coming matches a certain criteria, is going to be directed to the product server to fetch some data. So now I would like us to use YAML file because we've been using application.properties file before now, but I want us now to use YAML file so that you also see how to make configuration using YAML. You can actually use YAML, you can actually use application.properties. Both of them do the same thing, but it's better you have knowledge of different ways or different options of doing things. So go to the resources folder and say new file. And you're going to call this file application.yaml, YML, right? Call it application.yaml, and I'm going to hit enter key. Now I'm going to now show you that the things you normally do in the application properties, you can do it here. So you simply say, let's say we want to say spring.application.name is equal to API gateway. So it's spring. Okay, sorry, let me just use the IntelliSense. So it says spring.application.name. So this is a format for YAML. It makes some sense, it adds some color to it, but I'm used to application.properties, but since we are programmers, we need to learn something new. So API gateway. All right, so this is the name of the application. So now the port of this application. So it's server.port. Sorry, I need to step back the indentation to the beginning of the line. So it's going to be server.port 8082, right? And then we need to specify the route. So let me write it so I now explain it to you. So I'm going to say Zool routes, and the route. So the route when is coming from product name is product API and it matches the path. It matches the path of slash API star. So any request coming from this route. So if you, even if it's product API slash product, is going to come here. Products API slash product slash one slash API slash whatever slash categories of product categories is going to come to this place, and it's going to route it to somewhere. So now we are going to specify the destination route, and it's going to be service ID. So this service ID is the name of the route of the destination, the product server where you want it to route to fetch data. So service ID is the destination microservice we are going to specify. Is going to be product server. All right. So this is where we are. Now we need to specify the Eureka client service URL. This I don't. Okay, default zone they say, but I actually don't think it's necessary. Remember we actually set the enable Eureka client, meaning that if you enable Eureka client, it's automatically going to find out the Eureka server. But now we're going to specify also the default zone to be the address of the Eureka server in the YAML file. But let's just do it. I've not checked when it's removed and what's going to happen. That I've not checked. So I'm going to say default zone http localhost 8761 /Eureka. Okay, and finally I'm going to copy this histories thing here that specifies some kind of timeout. So if it tries to contact this server, tries to route this request to this server, and it's not coming back in a timely manner, it's going to simply timeout and then fail. So I'm going to say Control V. 2 seconds is okay, which is 2000 milliseconds. Okay, these are API gateway, and this is fine. Everything is fine with our API gateway. We're going to fire up everything so that we can check that this API gateway actually registers with the Eureka server. I'm going to fire up the API gateway. I'm going to fire up the Eureka server here. I'm going to also fire up the product server because there are 3 of them. I'm going to fire up the product server. So now Eureka server has 1 item, so I'm going to just refresh. At this point, maybe we want to see that it registers also the API gateway as a client to itself. All right, so just to make sure everything is fine, why do we have this API gateway? API gateway. First, check the Eureka server. Eureka server is still starting up. So after now, we are going to write the last class, or the last microservice is simply going to be a web application, a web client application that tries to access some data using the API gateway. Correct? All right. So I actually have another application, AngularJS application built in AngularJS. Okay. This application simply displays a UI. Instead of displaying this data as JSON on a web browser, it displays on a UI. So check the description box. You can build up this application in a few minutes and then use it to actually see how beautiful what you are doing is. So I'm going to refresh. And now we have, you can see the 2 applications actually registered here, and they are up, the product server and the API gateway is working. Let's now build the product web that is going to actually try to access the product server, but goes through the API gateway. So I'm going to go to start a new application. So I'm going to say File, New project. So let me drag this one down this way. Okay. Okay. So this is where we are, and I'm going to go next. Just shift this a bit. So in this case, it's going to be same count.kinds on the genus, and it's going to be product web, and it's going to be product web. Okay. All right. This is what we have here. and I'm going to just go next. Now we don't need anything data here because we are not storing the data. We are not storing data, but we also need Lombok. For some reason, I always like adding it even though it's not necessary. Spring Web, and we need Eureka client, Eureka Discovery client. Let's see, we have REST repositories because we are going to be making REST requests to the class to the API gateway. Remember, anything microservices have to communicate via HTTP, and the protocol is HTTP, and it's going to be REST requests, not SOAP. We are done with SOAP. So I'm going to, if you want to learn about SOAP, I can put the link in the description box to see how to build a SOAP REST service, also build a REST web service, and see how both of them compares. Okay, so I think I can go to next now. So we have REST repositories. I've not added that. It's going to be the second one. So I'm going to click on next. Product web is fine. Okay, new window. All right, so our fourth and final service is on the way. Okay, so we need a number of things. We need the product class, the Pojo. So I'm going to copy it from the product server. I'm going to copy the Pojo from here. We need the Pojo because when data comes into the product web, that data will be in a particular format. All right, so we want to marshal it into a product instead of just ordinary or normal JSON. That's why we need also to have this class right here. What am I doing? Product web. Okay, so okay, let's create our first. Let's create the first class, which is simply the product. So let me say product. And this product is simply going to be almost the same with the one in the product server here. I'm going to go to this product here, and I'm going to simply copy what is here. In this case, I'm simply going to just take this, going to paste it right here. Okay, so I'm going to annotate with a data annotation. Okay. All right, so I import. Also, let me annotate with an ID annotation. Okay, perfect. Do I need getters and the citers? For some reason, maybe I'll just add them. Getters and citers, just generate getters and citers from here. Select everything and just say OK. Now we have our getters and citers. Now the product web is going to be used to make a request across to the API gateway. So we actually need also to create a service class that is going to expose the methods that are available. So I'm going to say Java class, so a service. This service is simply an interface that exposes two methods that will be available. Normally, a controller or a service or an application can have several methods, but you want to expose some of them to certain microservices or some other methods exposed to other places. So in this case, we need a service. Not compulsory for this small application. For this demo purposes, is the best practice. Product service, and this is going to be not a class but an interface. Okay. Before I forget, let me just annotate this class with enable Eureka clients. Sorry about this. All right, so fine. I'm going to go back to the service, and this service is going to have two different definitions that has to be exposed. So I'm going to say public list of products get all products. All right, so this comes from here. All right, so we only need definitions as well. So I'm going to say public products get just one product. So I'm going to say get products. That's fine. So I'm going to say at get mapping. So this is going to we expect the URL mapping to be to/product, and We also need a URL parameter. So it's a parameter. So it's going to be product ID, right? And we are going to pass this parameter in. Just give me a second. Sorry, I'm mixing up things. So it's going to be string product ID. Perfect. And this is going to be coming from. Sorry about this. I'm just being too fast. Product. Right. So this is what we have. Hopefully, it's very clear. Now we are going to write the REST controller to be able to implement these methods. So I'm going to say new Java class. It's going to be product controller. Let's call it product REST controller. So this is where we have to now ask ourselves question: how do we actually connect to the API gateway, right? Because we are not going directly to the product server. We want to go through the API gateway. The API gateway will now grab this request and then send it to the product server. Remember that in the product server, we specified that there will be a request coming out that is based on a particular URL pattern. And let me just show you, in case you've forgotten. So I'm going to go to the product, the API gateway. Okay, so the path is /API /*. That is the path. So if the path is coming from here, from to this place in this format, that is going to be routed to the product server. Okay, so let's get back to where we are. Let's go back to product web. Okay, so the first thing, let's go to annotate with @REST controller, and this annotated with Eureka client, and good. So now we need to make a request to another microservice, which is the API gateway. To make a request across microservices, what do? You need to use a REST template. And for us to use a REST template, we need to have the REST template bean for us to be able to use it. So I'm going to create the bean right here. That bean is going to be public REST templates get REST templates. Okay, so return new REST template. Okay, right. So this is what we have. Make no mistake about it. Now this REST. Okay. This REST template making requests, because this REST template bean is what we use to make requests across to another microservice. Now there may be multiple instances of the same microservice that is running, okay? And this REST template actually may not be given a particular microservice. It may just be given, go to the microservice and fetch data, and it sees so many instances. So what is it going to do? It's going to load balance this request based on some algorithm, maybe round robin, or maybe list load or something. Okay, so put load balance so that when this REST template is making a request, it's going to load balance in case there are many instances that are running. That will be great. Okay, let's get back to our controller. I'm going to say REST AutoWire. Let's AutoWire the bean into this place. I'm going to say private REST template. Sorry, REST template. REST template. Okay. All right. So okay, so let's see. We need to specify also the service URL in this case. So let me see. The service URL now is going to be, let me say, private static string going to be okay. Service URL is equal to localhost. Okay. So it's going to be localhost, and now we need to specify the API gateway. This is where the API, this is where this request is going to go. So I'm going to say API gateway. All right. Okay. So, and we are saying that there should be a pattern, which is API. Okay, it should be API. Yes. So this is a pattern, right? So once it matches this pattern, API/API, then it's going to accept it and route it to where we defined in the YAML file. So I'm going to now write the two methods. So for us to make it easier for ourselves, I'm going to simply make this method implement product service. So product service implement the methods, and this is fine. All right. All right. So this is going to be our get mapping to/products, and this one is going to be our get mapping to/products/products ID. All right. So this is what we have. And let's now use a REST template to make a request. So use a REST template to make a request is a bit different from how you use a repository to make to retrieve data. So in this case, take note of how I'm going to do it. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use the REST template static method get4objects to retrieve a list of objects. And then I use array.list to convert the list of objects to list of so I'm trying to get an object array using REST using get4object. I'm retrieving an object array and then use as array.list to convert this object array to list of objects. So I'll do it so that it becomes clear to you. So I'm going to say products array of products is equal to REST template.get4objects and specify the service URL and specify the return type is going to be simply array of products. Okay. All right. So this what REST template does for us gets an array. Let's not mix it up. Get an array of products, and we're going to convert this array to a list. So I'm going to convert this array to a list by saying I'm going to just return it at once in line. So I'm going to say return arrays dot as list products. Okay. All right. So I'm returning now list of products instead of array of products. Okay. And in this case, I'm simply going to say I'm going to simply return it the way it is. So I'm going to say REST templates dot get for object, and it's going to be service URL. It's going to be product dot sorry. All right. Okay. All right. So I think this makes some sense. Okay. So I think we are almost done. API/products. Okay. So I'm going to fire this up, and oh, we have one more thing to do. We need to specify the name of this application. So I'm going to say the name is products web, and the port is going to be running. We did not specify. So we have the server running at port 8080. The API gateway running at which port? Let's check. API gateway running at port 8082, and so this is going to run at port 8081. So I'm going to say server port is equal to 8081. Okay, this should be fine. And finally, Okay, I think everything should be fine. So I'm going to save everything. So we are going to now access at this port in this application product web. We are making a request to the product web to list of products to get product to product web. Okay, port 8081 / product. And using this request we are making is now going to use it to try to make a request across to API gateway. So let me run it so that I can explain a little more. I'm going to save everything. And the first thing we want to check is that this application actually registers with the Eureka server. And if that works, that should be, we are halfway, we are almost done with this class. All right, so I think everything started. So you have discovery, client, product web. Okay, so if I now go back to Eureka and I refresh the page, we can see that all the application actually registered with Eureka. So if I'm testing let me go to HTTP localhost at port 8080/product. Let me just make sure this is working. Okay. So this, I'm just accessing the server directly. Now we will make a request to the product web. Okay, so this product web is going to return whatever is going to return by passing through the API gateway to the service discovery, discover the product server, make this request and get back to us. That is how the plumbing works, and that is how I specified it in the diagram here in my website. So I'm going to say HTTP localhost port 8081. Let me just make sure port 8081, and I'm going to go to /products. Okay, so no instances available for localhost. So if we go to the error, we can see that maybe we have some challenges here. No instances available for localhost. Okay, so basically, if we go back to the product web REST controller, so this is wrong. This pattern here is wrong. So I'm going to say products, right? Because in the API gateway, we need to make a request to /API/*/ something else. So I'm going to stop it, save everything, and rerun it again. Right, everything went fine. So I'm going to refresh the page. Internal error, no instance available for localhost. Okay, sorry. This is a very big mistake I made. Now, if we are talking about microservices, we don't need the name of the server, localhost. Okay, so you don't need to use the name of the server. The URL for the server is not important. What is important is the name of the service. So let me just take it out. So that's what is causing the problem. So I'm going to say save all and restart the product web again. So stop and restart. Alright, so finally everything should be fine. I'm going to go back here and just refresh this page, and we should have to see a list of products coming. This list of products is a request we are making to product web, and product web is channeling through the API gateway. So the API gateway makes a connection to the discovery server to query find out the data for the product server, and then gets to the product server and returns back this data. So this is how to build microservices. Make no mistake about it, microservices is easy to understand once you put the effort, and that is why I have decided to build this website. So this website says microservices. Microservices is a website specially for microservices for beginners, for intermediate, step by step, with no steps skipped, with all the source code. Also, you can check my repository. On the link in the description box, you can find link to my repository and get all these codes for yourself and use it if you want. And also, if you want to help me, subscribe to my channel if you've not subscribed, and also buy me a coffee, support me on Patreon, or also subscribe to this my lessons here so that when I make new lessons, you get notified immediately. I remain Kind on the Tech Pro, and we see you in the next class.